Yeah, they're only like, yeah.
Because you know what, we should almost be like putting our meetings on. We get our website back.
It'll be up next week,
When's next turn?
Monday. Yeah. In the other room. Yeah. Make post.
I'm the boss now.
You're the boss, so you just have to admit them from the waiting room into.
All right, I'm gonna start letting people in. Can someone, before I start recording, can we like make sure someone says we're gonna record? Because I'll forget.
Yeah, it's already recording, and I'll put it on
Okay.
as well. I set it to automatically do it.
Okay, perfect.
Just don't put me in the waiting room or we'll lose it.
Okay.
Do you even want to be, or do you just want to? Okay.
Unless you want to put it in the corner and then this way, and I'll sit in the back there. Okay. You know how many people are on?
7 right now.
How many?
We need 15 members, so 22 were.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hello from Cameracraft.
Hello.
We also have Tamar.
Beautiful. Hey, everybody.
You say it again, guys.
Hi, Ashlyn.
Hey, everyone.
Hi.
We're gonna mute ourselves now.
Hi, everyone. Richard Kim from Studio Dance Arts here.
Hey, Richard.
Hi, Dan Fryia, CDC of Sault area.
Hey, Dan.
Afternoon, everybody. Josh Ingram from Northern Credit Union.
Hey, Josh.
Hey.
Nice beard.
Yeah, she's coming in. Bad timing, though. I mean, it's getting warmer.
Yeah, thank goodness.
Yeah. How you doing, Dan?
Pretty good, pretty good. Waiting for the spring to come, get out and help out in the golf courses.
For sure.
Yeah.
And everybody, sorry. Dan was just the one on my screen, but I'm just scrolling through everyone. Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Angela.
Hello. Happy Friday.
I appreciate everyone coming to participate in this on a Friday, even though it's a pandemic. But the 10-degree weather today, I thought might not work in our favor when it was so nice.
My wife's working and I work from home, and I felt so bad for my kids on the PD day. I finally finished work early, and I was like, well, this meeting's at 5:30. You guys want to go for a walk? You want to go to the park? No. But that's our plan for the next 2 days in a row, bike rides and walks. So I hope the weather holds out.
Okay. So we're just doing registration and onboarding, I think, for the next 15 minutes in order to ensure we can account for everybody. Thanks for your patience. It's a challenging format, but it's the only one that allows us to gather these days. So I think Zoom has become a commonplace in everyone's vernacular over the last year.
I just wanted to remind everybody that we are recording it just for our records. So if you see the little blinking light, it's just for me. Hello, Robert.
Nicholas, I'm jealous of that glass of wine you have going there.
We need some music. This awkward.
That's the benefit of working from home, I guess.
Sherry's got a trumpet. Sherry's got a trumpet. She could pull that off the wall.
Okay.
Oh, look, next year we should send out like a tasting kit. If we have to still be virtual, we should have like incorporate the social part back in.
Yes.
Mr. Josh Ingram, how are you?
As I live and breathe, if it isn't Rory
Wow.
Ring. I'm great. How are you, brother?
Stranger.
A long time no see. They
Yeah,
had me
my
on a
man.
different beat.
Kids will do that to you.
The kids is it's the vocation, but the kids are phenomenal.
Yeah, there you go. Nicholas, good to see you.
Hey, Rory.
Lots of other folks around. Good to see. Got a little sunshine happening today, which is nice. Sherry, Richard. Dan's too afraid to show his face.
We shamed him before you got on. It was a
There
whole
you go.
thing.
Oh, there it is.
There he is. Yeah, likewise. When that's done, it'll magically turn into wine. It's Friday. I took the day off, or half the day off anyways.
Good day to do it.
Yeah, I've after 5 years, I've taken on the truly northern activity of tapping the maple trees on my yard and making syrup.
Nice.
Yeah, I figured I got to put something in my bourbon.
Salvatore, how are we doing? Does it look like we're seeing our expected roster of attendees?
Yeah, it's looking pretty good. Let me double a quick count. Looks like we're waiting for about 4 more people that were registered.
Okay. We're getting close, everyone. Thank you for your patience.
And a reminder, we do have 3 other people here with us.
Oh, excellent, Jane. Who do you have with you?
So it's me, Dodds, James, Tamar, and Margaret.
Okay. So Tamar's
Yeah, she's with us.
with you as well. Okay. Anyone that's got multiple people logged in with multiple devices in the same room, just make sure that you have your speaker and mic muted, or else we'll get a feedback loop on all but one device in the same room.
So I have about 5 people outstanding so far.
Rory, how much syrup did you get?
So my buddy Steve, he took off 20 liters yesterday. I pulled 20 liters this morning. I'll probably get another 20 liters before I pack it in tonight, and then the trees will probably run Saturday. So we'll see. It's the first time I've ever done it.
You're not doing it in the house, correct?
Oh no, I'll be doing it over the fire in the back here.
Because a friend of mine did his last year in the house.
Yeah.
It is still sticky everywhere. Like it's like the kitchen's one big Post-it note.
That's hilarious.
Like you could actually take a piece of paper and stick it to the wall.
Oh my God, that's funny. Well, my latest experiment is doing homemade black garlic. So I have about 12 cloves of garlic in in a dehydrator in the basement. And I said to Michelle, I said, open the door and just take a big whiff. And all you can smell is garlic down there.
So it's regular garlic or it's special?
Yeah,
garlic?
so you take garlic, you wrap it in plastic, then you wrap it twice in tin foil. You put it in the dehydrator, or you can use a rice cooker too. And you put it in there at 130, 140 degrees Fahrenheit. And you leave it for 3 to 5 weeks. And it goes through this process. I want to say it's a Millard or something like that. So it's not fermentation, it's different. So it actually turns the garlic black. So when you pop the garlic butt out, it's black. The flavor of it's amazing. Michelle makes this this dish with garlic mushroom, the black garlic mushroom, onion, or shallots, olive oil, and taglinetti. You know, the whatever that is.
Tagliatelle.
There you go. Even with the accent too is perfect.
Okay.
It's phenomenal, but you can make butters out of it and stuff. But it's really, really good. It takes a lot of the acidity out of it and pungent. So it's really awesome. You can buy a small jar
How
of
long
it.
in
It's
the
like 3 to 5 weeks
in the dehumidifier?
in a dehumidifier or a rice cooker. Yeah. It's really good. Like small bottle of it's like $10. You can maybe get 12 or 15 cloves in it. I haven't ventured into my own sausage making yet. Then I'll truly know I'm a Sioux-ite.
That's right.
Well,
I have to be.
When COVID's over, we'll go to my father-in-law and see his operation.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
It is it's hopefully the trade's not lost with the Italian, because he makes supersato on the prosciutto, and it's unbelievable.
Oh, nice. Well, I have a spare fridge that I use to age beef. So I've aged tenderloins, whole strip loins, whole prime ribs.
Wow.
Anywhere from 30 to 90 days.
Wow. Move over, Chef Ramsay. Here comes Rory.
It's a hobby.
Can you see my mug? I don't know if it's backwards.
No.
A client made it for me, and it says mortgage advisor, because badass miracle worker is not an official title.
That's funny.
Oh, never a dull moment.
We're almost at our starting hour. I don't see Paul Scornaienchi or Frank Gaccione on here. Ashlyn or Salvatore, did we have confirmation they were attending?
Frank's in the boardroom.
Oh, there he is. Hey, Frank.
And Paul Scornaienchi did confirm that he would be attending, but I think he's out of town. So I don't know if he's calling in or.
Okay. Well, by my watch, we are at the 5:45 mark, so I say we get started. We are recording, just a reminder, everyone. This is a public meeting. I thank everyone for joining us this evening. We're all getting well versed in these virtual attendances, and hopefully we won't keep you too long on this beautiful evening, but I appreciate your participation and input. Just a reminder, as this is a public meeting, we are recorded and our minutes are recorded, and we do have media in attendance as well. So at this point, I am going to turn it over to our executive director, Salvatore Marchese, to kick things off for us tonight. Salvatore, I think you're muted.
Meeting's been called to order.
Yes.
All right. So I guess I'll start out, everybody. I haven't had the pleasure of being able to meet everyone in person or on the phone or anything, but I'm looking forward to it. I've been here for a couple months now, starting to get the lay of the land, familiarity with the different companies. And, you know, I'm excited, hopefully, for what this year is going to bring. There's a lot of promise coming. Looks like a lot of us have stared down a tunnel that didn't look like there was an end, but it seems like there might be one coming now. Hopefully we see a return to our events, and as the spring starts to come, we are anticipating for different ways of having those events play out. We'll do virtual if we have to, but we're hoping to have them in person. Other things that are coming this year, the city's going to be moving forward with the new public square. We hope to assist with programming that and having people come down here, walking the streets, attending events. We have, you know, some great staff to assist us. Ashlyn McMillan's been with the association for a number of years. We also have a new beautification associate that just started, Mike Vincent. We're glad to be launching our new website in the coming week, and we hope you can all check that out. It's integrated with our social media platforms, and we'd love for you to interact with that and get your feedback on different things we carry out. And we just continue to appreciate your support for the city. It's through your guys' support that we're able to function and we can assist you, and just hoping for this to be a good year. You're muted, Kristi.
Sorry, were you going to do the explanation of the voting system as well?
Oh, yes. So I'll do the explanation of the voting system. So most of you that are qualified to vote should have received an email this morning that would explain that when there's an on-screen prompt, you can be in favor or oppose the motion. We ask that if you did not receive that email and you know you're a member of the public, to please not vote on that motion. We know our overall total vote count, so we ask that in the interest of keeping this going along, that you don't click on that button. Otherwise, we're going to have to move into a system where we move everyone who's a member of the public into a waiting room, do the vote, and then readmit everyone. So if you can follow along with those rules, we'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, I am unmuted. So my report this year, well, what a year it's been. This time last year, we were responding to the early days of lockdown and trying to absorb the gravity of that and what it was all going to mean for our businesses and our families, and so much has changed. I'm so pleased to welcome our new executive director, Salvatore Marchese, to his first AGM, and congratulate, of course, Ashlyn McMillan, who's been with us for over 6 years now on her promotion to Events and Communications Manager. The recruitment process during a pandemic presented a number of challenges, and it took us considerably longer than we were initially hoping to secure a qualified individual for that executive director role that really steers our entire operation, and we're really happy to have that role filled now, and we have a great team in place to steward our association into the next phase of these still quite challenging times. Our community has lost some businesses during the year, but I personally am very optimistic that we will continue to grow and thrive as a downtown despite these obstacles, and I want to thank you all for your continued commitment to making downtown an essential element to the prosperity of our community. It wasn't too many years ago that we had Roger Brooks in town, and he was very helpful in helping us see a future and see some prosperity and see ways to grow and improve upon our both community and our downtown, and improve upon the health of the community as a whole. And despite the setback of the last year, I think we're well poised to regain the momentum that we had started to get going. And I'm really optimistic that we're going to continue on in a very positive direction. So Salvatore, I believe we've had your chair's report as well, or sorry, your executive report.
That's what I started off with.
Yeah, I
before.
thought so.
Yeah,
Okay, so
my
I'm going to
mistake.
turn it over to Ashlyn for the manager's report.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for attending. I had quite the lengthy manager's report, but there's a few things that I wanted to talk about. 2020 was definitely a very strange year. I came on as interim manager in the beginning of that year, and we definitely planned for something different. We had lots of events with very full calendar, and obviously that couldn't happen with the pandemic. I learned a lot this year, and I really seen downtown come together. Local businesses really supported each other, and that's one of the things that I was most proud to see. We worked really closely with the Chamber of Commerce and the City of Sault Ste. Marie to ensure that members got as much information as they could regarding COVID relief and things like that to help with that, as well as wage subsidies. So I really want to send a thank you out to the City of Sault Ste. Marie and Chamber of Commerce for putting those things on. We worked closely with city police as well to kind of make sure that downtown was safe while people weren't in their businesses. And we also worked closely with KC Security, which they were a wonderful partner through all of this, and they were doing patrols of downtown. We did have some successful events. They definitely did look different than they had in previous years, but working with the City of Sault Ste. Marie and PUC services, we were able to put new lighting displays downtown, which was a really nice addition, and I'm so glad to see them, and they'll be able to be used for years to come, even when we can meet again. We worked a lot on beautification efforts, and I got to help a lot of members with their facade grants, which was really rewarding this year. And I just wanted to say thank you to the membership for really coming together, and you guys shared whatever you guys were doing on social media and shared other businesses, and that was really rewarding to see.
Thank you, Ashlyn. So next on our agenda tonight is approval of the 2020 minutes. Were there any concerns or revisions upon review? I don't see anyone indicating that there were. So based on that, I'm going to move that we approve the 2020 minutes as written. Can I have a seconder? Paul Mason's my seconder. All in favor?
We're good.
Okay, so we have approved minutes. Thank you, everyone. We have our first vote under our belts, so congratulations. Next is the approval of the 2020 audited financials. I'm going to turn it over to Chris Pomeray of KPMG, who's been our longstanding auditor. Thank you, Chris, and welcome.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here again this year and present the statements. We were able to meet together with the board in a meeting this past week in order to finalize the financial statements, and I can walk through the draft if everyone has a copy that would be able to follow along. I can also share my screen if that was enabled, if you wish to do that.
If you give me a moment to figure that out, I will do so.
In the meantime, I can carry on just in terms of the audit report. So the statements were approved on March 17th by board vote. We have the signed representation letter that we were able to complete. So our audit report is dated March 17th. It's a clean audit report. Again, this year, no changes from the past. for the statements for the year ended December 31st, 2020. We are able to present our report as independent auditors. And in the financial statements and final audit, there is a copy of our auditor's report that outlines responsibilities of management for the numbers and the financial processes that are in place to ensure that those numbers get recorded properly, and our responsibility as auditors to review those processes and the numbers that are presented. So we are able to render an opinion on the audited financial statements that they are materially within the guidelines of the reporting framework, which is under public sector.
Sorry, Chris, you can share your screen now, I think.
Very good, thank you.
Yeah, Ashlyn, just to let you know, I think you made Chris host. So that means he controls the whole event. So if you actually so Chris will have to give the hosting back to you, and you can make Chris co-host.
All right, I will give it back. All right, so in terms of the statements themselves, I can give a high level overview of the financial position and then the statement of operations for 2020. So in terms of your financial position at the end of December, we'll just increase this slightly. So at the end of the year, your cash balance was $56,000, up $6,000 from last year. You have a term deposit that was renewed during the year, which is sitting at just over $41,000. Accounts receivable balances include grant amounts that were receivable at the end of the year for some wage subsidies that will be received in 2021. Overall, your current financial assets at $128,000. And comparing that to your liabilities of $22,000 shows that at the end of the year, the Downtown Association is in a good financial position from a liquidity point of view. Accounts payable and deferred revenue being the liabilities on hand at the end of the year, amounts that are owing for timing of payments of invoices at December 31st. And $12,000 for deferred revenue, which was funds received for a project that's been deferred until 2021 due to the COVID impact. The other items in your statement of financial position are your capital assets, mainly signage and office equipment, so just under $14,000, some prepaid insurance, and overall, your accumulated surplus, the net surplus going forward for the association is $120,000. So last year we would have reported, and you can see in the comparative column that the accumulated surplus was just under $135,000, and we'll see the impact of this year's operations has dropped that to $120,000. Okay. In terms of your operations for the year, so overall, if we get down to the bottom line impact for the year, we have a deficit for 2020 of just under $15,000. And that's in large part due to a lot of the impact that COVID had on the organization for the year. And we'll run through that in some more detail. In terms of your revenues, there was a reduction that was approved during the year in anticipation of COVID and some of the activities that were happening in 2020. So the total assessments, the approved budget for the assessments was lowered from $185,000 in 2019 to $115,000 in 2020. So that's your largest impact in terms of the assessment item. The other big impact you'll see in events. Last year, we had almost $77,000 in revenue related to events, those sponsorships, donations, and other activities that were related to that. This year, $2,000. So a significant impact on the cancellation or postponement of those events, which some of which will be happening this year in lieu of last year. But overall, the revenue for the year dropped from $304,000 to just about $159,000. The offset of that is in your expenses. We're talking wages and benefits. Your events and activities expense, again, related to the postponement of activities that occurred. Some of your marketing costs, those are the larger items in your expenses that were decreased because of postponement or deferral of activities. But overall, your expenses decreased from just about $295,000 last year to just over $173,000. So a slight deficit for the year. There was a budgeted deficit for 2020, as you'll see in the first column. That deficit was budgeted with the anticipation of utilizing some of the accumulated surplus that was on hand. But overall, a $14,000 decrease in your overall accumulated surplus for the organization going forward. So the next page we'll touch on is the statement of cash flows, just in terms of overall cash utilization for the year. The largest impact would be just about $6,000 increase in cash balance at the end of the year. We started with a net loss in terms of cash generation from your operations, but changes in your working capital provided an offset to that, increasing it to over 6,000 with the collection of receivables that were due at the end of last year and the timing of payments made with the reinvestment of the GIC deposit. 581,000 was reinvested into that deposit. So overall, an increase of about $6,000 in cash to 56,000 at the end of the year. The rest of the statements go through the accounting policies and required disclosures for the statements. There's no significant changes other than a couple that I would like to highlight. I'll just scroll through to the accumulated surplus. So we mentioned a decrease in the overall accumulated surplus going forward, 120,000. Of that amount, 13,895 is in your capital assets. So those are surplus amounts that are currently tied up in the assets that you have working for you, and otherwise your operating fund surplus is 106,000, and that is down from 117,000 the year before due to the deficit that occurred in 2020. We have included in the note disclosure a note relating to the effects of COVID-19. This will be a note that you should see common in most statements these days, given the fact that the pandemic is widespread. It does present a risk to all organizations. So we have highlighted that the pandemic is having an effect on the association, and on the second page of that note, we have described that there was a decrease in the levy that occurred during the year, reducing the overall revenue, and that compared to prior years, the cancellation and postponement of events did have a significant impact on the operating results. Those items were not normal, and so we do ensure that we've highlighted that fact to anyone that's reading the statements. And ultimately that because of this ongoing pandemic, a year in, and some light at the end of the tunnel, but certainly not fully understanding, or we're not fully able to understand the long-term impact of the pandemic. So just disclosing that, you know, at this point, future events are still in the air, and there is uncertainty related to that. Those are the summarized financial statements for 2020.
Thank you, Chris. I'm going to open it up for any questions. I can't see a full gallery of attendees right now, so
Kristi, it's Rory. Can I raise my hand?
Yeah, Rory. Okay,
comment?
perfect.
Sure.
Go ahead.
I think I think the organization has got to be very well commended on the way it's being able to manage the operations, and Ashlyn deserves a great big hug and a pat on the back for the efforts that she's made, and the board of directors, I think, has done an excellent job in controlling operations. I have to especially note that the reduction in the levy and the choice of the association to do that has to be commended. Obviously, we know the sensitivity of many of our downtown businesses and how they've had to, bob and weave amongst the many of the government programs, some qualifying, some not qualifying, some opening and some not opening to a limited extent. So I think you've done an exceptional job in maintaining the organization and the connectivity to the membership. So you're all to be commended very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Rory. Any other comments, questions? Sorry, I can't see with the financial statements on the screen here. I can't see if anyone else has put their hand up. So please say your name and ask your question. If not, we'll move on.
If you can make me host again, Chris, thank you. Sorry. Oh, there we go. Thanks.
Okay, excellent. Now I can see everyone.
Financial statements are a great way to quiet any crowd, except for a room full of accountants.
Okay.
I won't take offense to that.
Okay, well, if this is last call for questions from Chris directly. And if we have none from the group, I will excuse Chris with our thanks for his expertise.
Please make me host first.
If you don't switch the host over, Chris, you're going to hang up on everybody.
That's right. So if you can just tell me where to do that.
If you go to my name on the side, there's a little
3 buttons, three little dots up there, and then it'll say what you can do.
All right, perfect.
Sorry about that, guys. Thanks.
Oh, now Rory's the host.
Oh.
Yeah, don't trust me with that.
Do we need a motion to accept those financial statements? Is that coming up?
We will.
Yes, as soon as I can get it. Okay, Rory, you're gonna have to make me host.
Oh.
All right, guys. We'll get there.
No, I don't think it shows me as.
It does, Rory.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's kind of strange because it's not coming up on my. Okay, it's not coming up showing me that I am. Does it say host?
I can help out here.
Yeah. I just have mute.
Salvatore's the host now.
Okay.
There we go.
Look at that, modern technology at its finest.
Thank you for your patience, everybody.
There we go. We got through.
Okay. So on that note, then I am going to move that we approve the audited financial statements as presented. Can I get a seconder? Sherry. Thank you. All in favor or opposed, please vote on your screen. Okay, it looks like motion carried, Ashlyn. Perfect.
Correct.
Okay, so we're moving on to the 2021 budget portion of this evening's presentation. I'm going to open it up to, or pass it over to our executive director to take us through the budget.
All right. Hello again, everyone. You should all have received a copy of the budget in your packets. If you could all turn to that page, we'll start out on the revenue side. So as you'll see, we've reestablished our levy at a more traditional rate. Historically, it's been between 184 to 188. This year, our requirements need a slight increase. So we've forecasted 192,700. We're foreseeing less in grants due to COVID making an impact. Less grants are available. We're hoping to see more event income come in, and our rental income is steady as to what it was in the 2020 season. On the expense side, there'll be an increase in wages from last year with the hiring of myself as the executive director. Last year, there was a period where they did not have one, so that is being accounted for. The events line has also increased, and that is at 13,300. As well as the promotions has increased, and that is hoping to advertise to get more people back downtown and spending and doing things down here. A lot of our costs have stayed stable. The one area where it has gone up was on office equipment and furniture, and we've made a request to be able to purchase some replacement equipment and office equipment, whereas staff have been using their own resources. Overall, our total expenses equal our revenue of $212.25. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions about anything on the budget specifically.
Okay. Please don't feel rushed. I know there's a lot of information to absorb there. So take a look, and we're happy to go through any specifics and answer any questions. This is a balanced budget, so we do not anticipate utilizing any reserves, and the increase represents about 2.5% over pre-COVID traditional levy amounts. This is as justified as Salvatore explained, and it's worth noting that our levy hasn't increased in, I believe, 10 years or possibly more. So this is, we're moving back into the rebuilding phase, and we think this budget is both responsible and reflecting of those goals for the organization. No questions, really?
Hi guys, it's Tamar. Oh, can you, I'm just getting them to mute there, sorry.
One
Sorry
hot
about
mic
that.
per room.
Pardon me, yeah, no, it's
One
because I've
hot
been
mic.
muted. No, we know. It's just because I was muted and then I was like, no, I want to ask a question. So with the budget, we've opted to go back with the levy raised for 2021.
Yes.
And I understand the concept, but we're still in COVID. So the reasoning behind that, I'm a little bit obscure on. Like for us that are downtown that are still working, we're not making money, we're just staying afloat. So hearing that is a little disconcerting, just putting that out there.
Mm-hmm. Understood. And so the plan is this, you know, when we slashed the budget last year, we were in the early days of things and obviously didn't know what sort of impact this was going to have in the long term. Obviously, it had far greater impact than we had initially hoped or foresaw. But now that we see lockdowns are starting to subside, vaccines are being rolled out, and plans are, people are optimistic, and the messaging that we're getting is optimistic that we are going to be returning to more of a business as usual. And we want to ensure we are ready and poised to get things back to normal. We were able to cut costs significantly last year because we had a vacancy in our leadership, so our staffing costs were considerably reduced. But we are fully staffed again, and we need to plan for those costs. And that's where we approach this budget. We're hoping to have a full events calendar again this year. That's next in the presentation, but we're really planning to start to see things get back to normal here. I don't know if any of my other partners want to add to that, Salvatore or Frank. I believe it's just us from the Finance Committee.
Yeah, Kristi, I think that you've hit it right on the nose. We're hoping that this year
Yeah.
we get back to
We all are.
running the organization the way we have in the past. And we don't want to get caught not being able to have anything that we in the past that we can't do this year. So we're very optimistic we're going to be back to normal. So we want to be prepared, like Kristi said. So that's why we didn't.
I understand. I understand that we're all hopeful. However, we're also mindful of April. They're forecasting perhaps, going into another third wave, and we're all scared. And so hearing that, it's just disconcerting. It's just another thing that puts another brick on your back when you're trying to for my business, I own a flower shop, in case anybody didn't know. So for me, I have no events. So we have day-to-day business, but we've had no events for a year, which means my staff has no hours. So I don't have, I'm just barely not even breaking even. So hearing that, it's just like, oh my goodness, what am I gonna do? And hopefully we'll get events this year. But right now, the weddings I'm booking are for 50 people. I don't foresee getting 300 people in a room anytime soon, which would give me the dollars that I could say, hey, yeah, we're all going gangbusters again.
And we can totally understand where you're coming from again. And I don't want to keep sounding like a broken record, but we want to be ready to present to our members what we've given them in the past. And we don't want to be held back because of some other issues. So that's the only reason. And if I'm sure if something happens later in the year, I guess the board will meet and discuss what we can do. But I think right now we have to proceed with the budget that we presented. So, and let's keep our fingers crossed. Like, we're not, we're hopeful.
As am I. And I do appreciate all of those concerns. I do. I just let it be noted that I'm saying easy. Like we're not recovered in any way, shape, or form. So when I hear that, this levy that was, brought back for us, and then having, to think about that, I have to add that into what I have, it's not hopeful to stay on Queen Street.
No, and we understand that totally. And I hope that we can present something more that you won't leave.
Yeah.
We appreciate that.
Okay.
Sherry Burlinghoff, I believe you have your hand up for a comment or question.
Hi, everyone. A couple questions. First one is, how many businesses is this levy divided amongst? How many paying people are there?
It's approximately 150 businesses.
Okay, 150, and we're dividing it, that dollar value by 150?
Yeah.
And then the value of property?
No, it's based on your assessment to your building, to your property. That's how the assessment is dealt out.
Okay.
It's not divided
between
evenly.
150, I see what you mean though. Yeah, it depends on your property and how much you have and what the
Whatever your assessment's at, the city will come out with a number, and it'll be added to your the value would be based on the value of your assessment. So your taxes are based on your assessment, same as the levy.
Okay. The next thing is, how are you rolling it out? Like, has it already started? Is it going to start? When is it going to start?
It comes out with your taxes. Same thing with your taxes.
Okay, but
You'll see
So
it
the
in your
next-
tax.
our next tax bill will have that
Yes.
increased levy on it.
So the bill for the second half of your taxes that comes out, I think sometime, I want to say late May or early June, has a line item on it that specifically outlines what your portion of the levy is for the downtown association.
Right, and I have seen that. I just didn't know how you plan to roll this out. So if this is approved, then it's going to be rolled out. Then if it's not approved, then what happens?
Yep.
If this budget isn't approved with this levy change, just asking.
So the way it works, because we are a board of council, is the board, in partnership with the executive director, drafts the budget based on the work we do and in our planning and what we forecasting and what we've seen happening. We then recommend that budget to the membership for approval. And the ultimate approver of the budget is City Council. So we want the membership's direct input. So we've always presented it at the AGM for the membership to give their input. But ultimately, the approver of the budget is the City of Sault Ste. Marie.
Okay, thank you for the information. Just curious, wanted to get all the facts before
Absolutely.
I make a final decision.
Absolutely.
If I could just maybe just remind folks too that the city has instituted a non-penalty for delay of payment of property taxes. So there's no interest charges if you're going to be delaying your property taxes. So there is an advantage there as well to help support the business community. Obviously, a property tax forgiveness would be fantastic, but at least we have a city that's willing to absorb some of the financial losses from deferring property taxes.
I've seen a few more cameras turn on. I'm hopeful that means we have some more input from our members. Who's next? Anyone? No? Okay. Well, if there's no more discussion, we will move to a vote then. Last call. Any comments or concerns, questions? I want to make sure everyone has a chance to have their say.
I just want to ask a quick question then.
Certainly, go
Just
ahead.
in regards to the events and activities budgeted, I'm seeing a pretty big decrease in the budget for that line item. 2020 was projected to be just shy of 40,000. We're at 13,000 now. Seeing the calendar, the event calendar, it's exciting. Like I'm optimistic and happy to see some positive outlook and planning going on. It's a full agenda though for the year. Is that a realistic budget to say we can pull off all these events and all these plans that we have with that much of a decrease in spending for that type of events?
Yeah, I can speak to that. So we were looking at that item, and when we met to do our events planning, we took into account that although there's a lot of events, they're not going to be able to happen on the same scale as a pre-COVID world. So we tried to come up with a number that seemed realistic based on past experience and restrictions on the amount of people gathering. We wanted a number that we felt was confident of what was going to happen during the year. So a lot of the events were cost-based on what we believe we can anticipate for crowds to be allowed.
Ashlyn, you had something to add as well?
Yeah, in addition to that, a lot of our fundraising for events comes from sponsorship. Of course, we expect to not receive the kind of sponsorship we have in previous years. We never want to have our hand in pockets of members or the general public, but a lot of organizations do want to reinvest into downtown in these events as well. And a lot of these donations can come in kind and things like that. So that really helps to offset that. And as Salvatore mentioned, a lot of these events are a lot smaller scale than they have been in previous years.
Yeah, and that totally makes sense. I get that. I guess it leads into my next question of would more events with a smaller budget be a better idea than fewer events, and kind of focus the budget on those things? Because I was just looking, and we're still talking about closing Queen Street. I know it said potentially Friday and Saturday, like for the whole summer, basically. Like that sounds spreading that budget pretty thin. If we're going to advertise that that's going on, like that's a very diluted way of doing it. Like in the past, we've tried and experimented with a lot of different ways of, do we do a few, one or two closures through the whole summer and focus the budget there and make it a big deal? Do we spread it out a little further and say 3 or 4? Now we're I saw this idea of virtually every weekend, maybe even 2 days every weekend. I just have a little concern about spreading that budget that already looks dramatically reduced pretty thin. So maybe just a little discussion and not to step on anybody's toes, I'm sure it's been thought of, but is that budget realistic to really stretch as thin as we're talking for that many events?
Can I start off the answer to that, staff, if that's okay with you? Salvatore, do you mind? Okay, thank you, Nicholas. That's an excellent question. So point of clarification, the discussion that we have on the agenda tonight surrounding that weekly summertime closure of the downtown is as a result of an outstanding city council motion. It may have faded from memory because it's been lingering for probably better part of 2 years now. Councillor Shoemaker brought this to council before having, I'm going to say, any meaningful consultation with the Downtown Association, just based on the idea that, if one street party in the summer is great, would 8 not be better? And maybe a little optimistically, I don't think we're there yet. It's certainly not what we've budgeted for in this events item. These street parties and street closures are fantastic if they're programmed in full. And two things that really create a barrier to that are pandemic and budget. And if we don't have the programming or the resources to create that programming, having a standing closure, I personally, as chair of this board, as a merchant and building owner downtown, and as the chair of the events committee, I don't think that's a great idea at this point in time. Perhaps down the road, a standing closure for a summertime event season with some well-established programming and the resources to back it up would be fabulous. But I don't think we're in a spot to have that work at this stage.
Yeah, that's great. I just, I totally agree. Walk before you run. I wish that kind of thing would be a big hit. We don't seem to be there yet, but okay, that's great.
So we are going to vote on that issue tonight, on what the membership's thoughts are on that. I was speaking as myself, those were my thoughts. So I do want to hear everyone's opinions on that. Sherry, you had your hand up.
Just a question regarding what Ashlyn said regarding, sponsorships, donations, things like that in your budget. Would it not be wiser to allow your budget to say what you actually need? And then when you gather these donations and sponsorships, then it gets allocated in a proper form. Because what happens if you don't get that sponsorship, or what happens if you don't get that, then how does your event go forward? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, so those projections and those sponsorships are a real thought out number. They're based on a number of factors, what we've seen previously in terms of interest and participation in similar events, and what we realistically feel we may be able to get under the current circumstances. Ashlyn, is there some more clarification you can help me with?
Absolutely. So it's kind of on a structured, how I personally plan these events is on a structure. So I know the elements in which I need to have for an successful event. And there's a lot of extras that you can add on, of course. So that's where your sponsorship dollars come in to kind of help pay for those things. Of course, there's your standard sponsorships such as print or advertising and things like that, which, you know, you really hope to get, but those are considered under a different line item from your events because you can kind of utilize that differently. But the basis of your event, to have a successful event to bring people downtown, that's what I put in as like a projection of what I would require. Sponsorship helps you do everything extra that makes it really, really special. So I would never take on as that we expect those investments from people and those sponsorships.
Just when you're thinking about your budget, that's the only thing I was talking about. So you include it there. If you get it, then your budget shows better at the end of the year. Is that's where I was coming from.
We just don't want to include unrealistic revenue goals and then have expenses that would put us in a deficit situation, because we are a not-for-profit board of council. We are very, very mindful of our budget and very, very strict in doing whatever we can to ensure that our members are getting the utmost value for every dollar they contribute. So it may seem quite conservative, but I think especially under the current circumstances, we have a responsibility to really, really ensure that the confidence of our membership in how we are managing their resources, because these are the resources of our membership. We want to ensure that that is without question, really, that we're really on top of it, and we're making sure that every penny counts under these circumstances, and always, really. Any other input, questions, anything else we can clarify for anyone? Okay. Sorry, let me just grab my notes here. My agenda. So I am going to move that the 2020 budget be approved. Can I get a seconder? Frank Gaccione is my seconder. Please be reminded, only members can vote. Ashlyn's gonna get all the votes. And do we still have votes coming in, Ashlyn? People need a minute. Okay.
So I'm missing 2 votes, and if you're choosing to abstain, of course, that's okay as well. I just want to give you another little bit there. Okay, so it isn't all in favor. I can share the results if we'd like, or I can just write these down over here. I'm not sure that process.
Absolutely, we can share the results.
Okay.
Okay. So based on the poll, the motion has carried 85% in favor with 15% opposed. So thank you everyone for your participation and input. I think that was a very meaningful discussion. And there's lots we hope to accomplish this year. So next item on our agenda is that outstanding motion that was put forth by the city of Sault Ste. Marie regarding a standing weekend closure of Queen Street in order to facilitate events. You've all heard what I think about it. I'd love to someday, but unfortunately, I don't think today is the right time, or right now is the right time. But please, I want to hear your input for or against. Please, please share with the group. Frank, I think you're next. You've got your hand up.
Yeah, just a comment on this. It's just, I agree with where this is headed, because I was one of the spearheaders on this, but I don't think we should do it for that long a period. I think because of what's going on, I think we should pass it on back to them from the downtown, that, and this is just my opinion, that we do go ahead with this, but on a smaller scale near the end of the summer, see how things are progressing with COVID, and hopefully more things will open up. Because I don't want to open this up and it turns out to be a failure right off the bat because of the situation we're in. And I think that's where, if we do go forward with this, that's what's going to happen. And we're going to lose a good opportunity to proceed with this, because I do agree we should do this, but the timing, unfortunately, isn't in our favor.
Nicholas Rosset, I believe you had a comment or question.
Yeah, I just want to echo exactly what Frank just said. I mean, there's two ways to look at the benefits there. One, to promote downtown, and obviously if it's a big hit, we'll just get people comfortable coming back downtown, and that's great. But again, from a business owner's perspective of this whole thing, that's just far too diluted. We're not going to get enough traffic to make staying open viable for the businesses. And again, that's just coming from a business owner's perspective. But I feel that maybe 2 throughout the nicer weather season would be a lot better, and budget used to really promote that and make it well known that stores are open. There's going to have to be participation from the businesses, but if the public knows that there's events going on, stores will be open, we're just going to get a better response. There'll be a better sentiment from the public about the downtown when you see more people. If it's so diluted every single weekend, it'll just flop. And that's my opinion, but 2 ways to look at it, I guess.
Thank you, Nicholas. Just for everyone's information, Ashlyn has posted the exact wording of the motion from council, or that was before council. For everyone, for anyone that's on the phone or that is having trouble accessing the chat, I'll read it out. So this was moved by Councillor Shoemaker and seconded by Councillor Hollingsworth. Whereas the Downtown Association's strategic plan calls for increased events and an extended season to bring more people downtown. And whereas the City of Sault Ste. Marie's downtown strategy wishes to encourage active use of downtown spaces. And now therefore be it resolved that staff with input from the Downtown Association examine the possibility of closing Queen Street from East Street to Gore Street to traffic on Friday and or Saturday nights from Victoria Day to Labor Day each year in an effort to both encourage active use of the downtown space and to increase events downtown. Yeah, I had, so Josh, I'm sure everyone can see Josh's comment. I had similar concerns that the motion actually excluded an entire block of our membership to begin with. So if we're going to close it, we're going to close the whole thing, or, you know, very specific parts for very specific events. But a standing closure like that should really include the entire membership. So I echo your sentiment. Rory, you had a comment?
Yeah, I guess just contextually here that the ask is actually just to examine the possibility. And I don't think you need to hit the pause button on that. I think we actually should start to look at what the potential impacts of doing that. Just because you're examining it doesn't mean it has to be implemented. So I would suggest that the advice to the municipality and the city is that it starts as an examination to see what the effectiveness of implementation would be once the pandemic has I don't want to say be resolved, but at least has shown some advancement to moving from being put into any kind of closure by the province. So the examination, I think, is a good perspective. Two, there's nothing here that asks for it to be immediately implemented. And the other cautionary note on here is what we are seeing is a tremendous lack of confidence in the consumer to attend events, to get out into businesses, and really be in those places where there's some congregation and still practice the proper protocols. Even with vaccination, you still have to practice all of those pandemic protocols, social distancing, sanitization, and all our businesses have done an incredible job of doing that. And they're continuing to have to do that because until you reach the point of herd immunity, you are always going to be at risk. And we know that, you know, businesses cannot afford another lockdown, a third lockdown or a fourth lockdown. You know, those are things that we really, really have to avoid. So I think contextually, this is an examination. I think we should support it. But certainly with the caveat that this is not to happen until there is confidence that the vaccine has achieved the end result of which is being derived to do.
Okay, any other comment then? Okay, Ashlyn, did you have a poll prepared? Okay, we're going to proceed with polling the group. I don't know that this one should necessarily only be members, or should it?
No, I believe this one's fine. This is just for our record so we can return that to the city. So that'll be fine.
Information purposes. I think what I'm hearing from everyone is this isn't something that we may not be ready for this now, but it's not something that we want to close the door on. But please vote based on this today. So the question that we're asking is today, are we in favor of a standing closure 1 or 2 days, so Friday and or Saturday, Victoria Day through Labor Day? So go ahead. Okay, Ashlyn, how are we doing?
Just about, I'm missing 4 votes if you're abstaining. Oh, sorry, 3 votes.
Give you a few more minutes, not minutes, sorry, seconds.
I'll give it to the 2-minute mark and then we'll call it. Okay, I'll share the results.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Could it just be amended though to be a little bit more specific, like a little more realistic, I guess? Like right now, we all agree it's very far-fetched. We all would love if, we could close the street and it be highly attended all year, but it's not going to happen. So is changing the study to something a little more realistic a possibility?
I agree with you. I think that's what it needs.
Yeah, I agree with Nicholas, is that, again, go back to this, is that the actual resolution itself is only an examination. But, if we were to offer, an amendment to that, is that currently the city should be examining it. And they should be examining in the context of potential implementation for 2022.
And I think those are.
Yeah, Kristi,
Go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, I don't want to present something to the city that says we're against this. That's the thing we gotta watch.
Yep.
To be careful with how we write this out. And I've also mentioned that, we should probably pull all the members on Queen Street when we get a chance this week and see what their thoughts are. And like Rory said, bring it back to them saying, this is a fantastic ideal, but not at the present time. So if we go ahead and say, yeah, we encourage this, go forward with it, we're not telling them, yeah, go ahead and implement it tomorrow. Because if they agree and approve it, what's the next step with them, right? So we don't know, what they're, after they get approval, where's the next step? How long are they gonna, before they implement it? All those little questions that could happen with us giving our backing on it. So, but we don't want to send them something where we're against it.
Okay, we have a few people that want to weigh in. We have Sherry, Angela, and Rory. Sherry, you're up next.
I was thinking if you could do it one day a week, if you make that call and say every Friday night, you advertise that it's time to walk Queen Street. It's not necessarily come shop. Yes, it can be, but the support local, but we all want to be outside. It's going to be nice weather, and just get people coming down to Queen Street on Friday nights or Saturday nights, whatever night we choose, right? So that's now our walking path. And maybe we're not shopping a whole lot on that first Friday night or even the second Friday night, but then we start to look forward to, hey, let's go downtown because we're walking the street, there's people there, it's closed, we're not walking right side by side, we can walk on the road, we can walk on the sidewalk, and just kind of get that flow, because it takes time for these kinds of things to people to get comfortable with these things. So I actually think if we don't have to have it both nights and we can have it a one night a week kind of thing, it might be a good way for everybody to get back into being around people that they don't know necessarily, and in a space that it's a great space to be. And there's restaurants now, like we can have the outside patios, so there's those stop off points and people, you know what I mean, just to get that momentum going. And no, it's not going to be maybe like our big street parties, and the first one may not be as successful as the last one, But I just think it's a good idea for at least the one night a week. And make it something that that you advertise and really get out there and in whatever form we can. That's my thoughts anyway.
I believe the next comment was Angela's.
Yes, so this is going to be pretty similar to what Sherry's just said, but I would caution against the Friday, Saturday, knowing local traffic patterns. Like a lot of locals go to their camps and go to Lake Superior Park, those sorts of things. So I would definitely advise possibly a Thursday evening. Like we've done Saturday events in the past and the attendance hasn't been great. So if they would be willing to consider maybe a regular Thursday evening closure, obviously down the road when things open up more, that would be my suggestion to propose to the city.
Rory, I think the floor is yours.
Yeah, no, those Sherry and Angela bring up some great points. And I think it would be in the role of the association to advise city council in regards to this. It's great. I mean, if you think you could have a standing order, how efficient that would be in terms of permitting, coordinating PUC, coordinating, the physical closure of infrastructure, scheduling of transit, and then we certainly could advise on that. So, the intent of the emotion, I think, has to be supported, but it has to be supported in more contextual conversation with the association to determine the day, as Angela points out, because you are trying to maximize traffic, and then obviously, some trials during this 21 year would probably be advantageous to the examination of the possibility of a standing order closure. So, that I think is potentially the best way to come back at this, because I agree, we don't want to go back to the city and say, no, this is not a possibility. And we don't want to go back to the city and say, yes, it's a possibility, because again, to Angela's point, Friday, Saturdays are pretty much everybody's gone to camp or gone outside. And we know the border is staying closed until now, April 21, which I am sure will be extended probably through the summer. So, I mean, it gives us time a little bit to do this examination and to regroup. So those are some thoughts there.
Okay, so what I'm hearing, and please correct me if I've misunderstood, is that in general, we support this concept with some added investigation and examination needed on how to scale to something that would be a standing closure, and what the resources and planning would need to be to make that happen. So we're interested in investigating this further. Is that fair? Awesome. Great. Well, thank you, everyone. The next item on our agenda is actually the adjournment, but I do want to ensure I'm happy to stay around if anyone wants to chat, if anyone wants to have any further discussion, or if anyone just wants to visit. I know it's so hard to see and socialize with anyone anymore, so we got to take advantage of the chances we get to see each other's beautiful faces. So if there's no other comments or questions, I will ask for a mover to adjourn.
I'll move.
Okay, and seconded, I think I saw Angela's there. All in favor?
That's the hardest question of the evening.
Now who's kind enough to send a bottle of that wine over to my house? I'm telling you, next time we do one of these, we're doing tasting kits. I was very envious of everyone's wine glasses. Thank you so much, everyone, for your participation. I know it's a beautiful night and everyone